Irish Guy, and Manchester City are the greatest team in the world. But not only that, not only are they the best team on planet Earth, but this Monster City team is the best Premier League team of all time. Lads, they just crushed Real Madrid during the week. And while most of you spent that evening drenched in sweat and surprise, I wasn't shocked at all. This was my prediction.
But I'm convinced. I know Manchester City are flying into the Istanbul final with absolute ease. I'm going to go for a 5-1 win. Lads, why not? It could and should have been a 5-1 home win last season too. This is going to be wildly embarrassing for Real. A crushing 8-1 aggregate loss. This is going to be the end of an era.
Okay, I didn't get it perfectly right. I said they would win 5-1 at home, and they didn't, but it was still a 5-1 win on aggregate. I predicted that Real Madrid would travel to the Etihad and lose by 4. And that is exactly what they did. Lads, name me another team in Premier League history who could do that to this Real Madrid team.
Oh, but Liverpool did that under Rafa Benitez in 2009.
Yeah, it's not the same. That feeble Madrid team had the backbone of a paradise cookie monster. Their coach was Juan de Ramos, someone who'd just been sacked by Tottenham for being bottom of the league. A Tottenham team featuring Luka Modric and Gareth Bale. That pitiful Real team back then were on a run where they went out in the Champions League last 16, 6 seasons in a row. Lads, me predicting and getting it right that the current reigning European champions would lose by 4 in the Champions League. When was the last time that happened? When was the last time a reigning European champion took such a beating in the Champions League? I mean, Inter Milan in 2011 was pretty hideous, with Jose Mourinho having quit after winning the treble. They lost 3-1 to Tottenham, 3-0 to Werder Bremen, and 5-2 at home to Schalke. But I mean, they still didn't lose by 4 goals. The answer is April 2004, when AC Milan took to a 4-1 quarter-final first leg lead to lose 4-0 to Deportivo La Coruña. Who was the Deportivo manager? Darren Moore? That was the last time a reigning European champion lost by 4 goals. And I got it right? Yeah. That was 19 years ago. What Man City did was special, and I'm saying it. This robotic winning machine is the greatest Premier League team I have ever seen. People like to say,
oh, but Guardiola just inherits brilliant teams already.
No. Don't forget just how rubbish Man City were directly before Pep Guardiola took the job. Lads, back in 15-16, Manuel Pellegrini's last season in the job. Listen, I rate him as a coach, but look at some of these results that season. This man had massive funds to spend, but these results are almost unrecognizable. In just one season, he lost 2-1 at home to West Ham, 4-1 away at Tottenham, 4-1 at home to Liverpool, lost 2-0 at Stoke, 2-1 at Arsenal, were beaten 3-1 at home by Leicester, 2-1 at home by Tottenham, 3-0 away at Liverpool, lost the Manchester Derby 1-0 at the Etihad, were battered 4-2 by Southampton, humiliated 5-1 by Chelsea, lost 2-1 away at Everton, were beaten home and away by Juventus, and obviously lost at Real Madrid. Lads, 0-0 draws are unspeakable things to ever happen to Man City nowadays. I mean, offer these Man City fans a goalless draw in 2023, and it'd be like offering them a pint of armpit sweat. They haven't been forced to sit through a 0-0 in the Premier League since March of last year at Crystal Palace. Well, lads, during Pellegrini's last season in the job, City had 7 0-0s. 7! Against Manchester United, Aston Villa, Leicester, Everton, Norwich, Dynamo Kiev, and Real Madrid. This is a team who began last season with 5 wins in a row without conceding a single goal. And they ended the season in 4th, with goal difference separating them from 5th. If they collected just 1 point less, then the richest club on planet Earth would have spent Guardiola's debut year in the Europa League, in a competition filled with the Dock, Southampton, and young boys. And just like that, the Dalai Lama's just tuned in. So don't you tell me that Guardiola just inherited a great team. No, that City team had great players, absolutely. But if a side finishes 15 points behind a team with Danny Simpson at right back and Danny Drinkwater in midfield, then they were nowhere close to being a great side. Lads, I'm sorry, but that season, there was just 3 points separating Man City from Southampton. Yeah, one Guardiola later, and that gap has gone from 3 points to 61. On the final game of that season, Man City could mathematically have been overtaken by West Ham. That is such a disgrace. Before Guardiola took charge, City were a complete mess. Inheriting an already great team is what David Moyes did at Old Trafford. When Guardiola came, this was a risk. Even in his first season, the pattern was the same. They won their first 6 games to sit top of the league and then imploded. Lads, across Pellegrini's last season and Guardiola's first season, the big moneybags Man City failed to win 51 games of football in just 2 campaigns. Wow! Lads, in Guardiola's debut season, the man was watching his team concede 4 at Leicester and Everton and failed to beat Celtic twice. But there was one clue that City would be incredible. I remember, I was there sort of. Not in the stadium, but I was interviewing fans outside the ground for that channel which must not be named. It was a Champions League night at the Etihad. Manchester City 3, Barcelona 1. I mean, sure, it was a horrible season, where City were unable to beat the likes of Stoke and Middlesbrough at home, but to take down a Barca team featuring the best front three of all time, lad, what was weird was that City, early day City, only had 35% of the ball. I mean, that is unheard of for Pep ball now, but that was the one clue that Guardiola was going to achieve something special. But there were critics. Look at this from 2016.
Guardiola would not win it again. Well, I didn't want him in the first place, and I don't want him in the second place. If he doesn't want to change his attitude and his philosophy, and he said he'll go back home, let him go back home.
Who would you rather have than Pep?
Who would I like? Simone.
Is that Nina Simone? That woman who sang Feeling Good?
Simone from Spain, get him in. What's he got that Pep hasn't?
He's got grit, in my opinion, and what he does with his players, he makes the players play football.
Lads, Simeone. If he thought that fella would have had City playing a slicker brand of football than Pep, then Christ above, I hope this man isn't allowed to use a knife and fork without parental supervision.
That's pansy football. That gets you nowhere whatsoever.
Pansy football gets you nowhere. You know where pansy football gets you? 5 Premier League titles in 6 seasons and a treble.
The biggest mistake he made was letting rid of Joe Hart.
Yeah, within a few years, Joe Hart was rotting like a cabbage on Tottenham's bench. By the way, quick interruption to let you know this video is sponsored by Manscaped. Listen, everyone knows that right now, if you walk down the street with protruding nose hairs, you're probably going to cause onlookers to vomit on the floor. Grandmothers will probably start throwing themselves in front of taxis to avoid the sight of you. But don't worry, because Manscaped is here to bring you their new Weed Whacker 2.0 with improved blades and motor. It can be found in their Performance Package 4.0 for no additional cost. So go on, save money and destroy those nasty nose and ear hairs by going to manscaped.com and using the code FOOTY to get 20% off and free shipping. But yeah, the Performance Package 4.0 has everything. The Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, and a nice little travel bag. The Lawnmower 4.0. Yes, it sounds like something to cut daffodils. Well, not quite, unless you've got a garden on your crotch. It has a 7,000 RPM motor, a new multifunction on and off switch, and gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off. Anyway, a link in the description. They're giving everybody who watches this channel a huge 20% off and free shipping when you use the code irishguy20 at checkout. So go now, back into the video. Guardiola has had 409 games in charge of Man City. He's got nearly 300 wins. I'm sorry, but over a 7-year period, to have a 72% win record. That is incredible. Lads, under Guardiola, Man City has scored more than 1,000 goals. Some people say that watching Man City is boring. Sorry, under Pep's watch, they've won 9-0, 8-0, 7-2, 7-0 4 times, 6-1 4 times, 6-0 6 times, one of which was against Chelsea 2 years before they won the Champions League. There have been 23 5-0 wins on Pep's watch, one of which was against Jurgen Klopp. Sorry, to win 5-0 23 times in 7 seasons is beyond a joke. It's not just that Man City won 5 titles in 6 seasons. It's the manner that they're doing it. They've done it in an era where Jurgen Klopp put together one of the greatest Premier League teams of all time in Liverpool, and yet Guardiola has limited them to just 1 Premier League title. Yes, I know Man City have had money ever since 2008, but pre-Guardiola, these were their points tallies under Sheikh Mansour: 50, 67, 71, 89, 78, 86, 79, and 66. Guardiola takes the wheel and suddenly 78, 100, 98, 81, 86, 93, and now another 90 plus. Lads, go back to his second and third seasons to take 198 points from an available 234 to drop just 36 points across 2 Premier League campaigns. To put it in context, Man United's treble winners of 1999 dropped 35 points in that single season alone, and they still came out with 3 trophies in the end. Lads, in Man United's greatest ever season, they dropped 1 point fewer than City did across 2 seasons. That is weird. The Sir Alex Ferguson era was different. He collected just 80 points or fewer in a single season 13 times. This man was winning a league title with 75 points. Yeah, I mean, if Guardiola dared to amass 75 points in a season now, the City owners would shoot him in the face. People say he inherited an already superstar Barcelona team as they tried to diminish his 2 Champions League wins. Yeah. Again, the team he took over was a stale puppet show under Frank Rijkaard. A world superstar as a player, a manager who had recently won the Champions League, so he should have had respect. But I mean, he spent the previous 2 years flirting with Chelsea, so the players didn't really like him. Lads, this is a team with Ronaldinho, Samuel Eto'o, Xavi, Andres Iniesta and Thierry Henry, and still finished third in the league. 10 points behind Villarreal, and just 3 points ahead of Europa League football. Literally just one win separated them and Sevilla. Do you see the similarity to Pellegrini's Man City? When Guardiola took the City job, they had just recorded 66 points. With Barcelona, it was 67 points. Both clubs were teetering on the edge of the Europa League, and with both clubs, Guardiola was able to turn them both into the best teams in the world. That Barca team couldn't score goals. They had 8 games in April 2008, and they only scored 4 times against Recreativo Helva and Schalke. That was it. Barca were just one loss away from being turfed into the Europa League for the 08-09 season. So instead of winning the treble, Guardiola would have been chucked into the same European competition as Portsmouth, leaving the door open for Manchester United to win 2 Champions Leagues in a row, beating Chelsea in the final both times, in Moscow and in Rome. Christ above, that would have been so weird and slightly epic. I reckon the second final would have been so intense, John Terry's head might have just popped like a balloon. But to me, no, Guardiola wasn't handed 2 absolute superstar teams. He walked into 2 crisis clubs with monster footballers on the payroll, but who just weren't clicking as a team. The only time Guardiola was ever handed a world-class team with a silver spoon in his mouth was when he took the Bayern Munich job after they'd won the treble. But I think he was just so unlucky. He accepted the job in January 2013, agreeing to take the wheel in June. At the time, Bayern had not won the Champions League in 12 years. In January 2013, they weren't even reigning Bundesliga champions. Jurgen Klopp was top dog, having won it twice in a row with Borussia Dortmund. Oh yeah, and they were just off the back of their greatest shame, somehow bottling the Champions League final in their own stadium against a Chelsea team with Ryan Bertrand on the wing, and with a centre half who begun the season at Bolton. I think if Guardiola knew that Bayern would win the treble in May, then he would not have taken the job, because what's the point? He wanted to be the man to restore that club to greatness, like he did with Barcelona. So no matter how incredible the football actually was, how many times he destroyed German football, to a point where he pretty much burnt out Klopp, reducing him to an angry empty tin can of a man, nobody really gives Pep any credit for any of that. But Guardiola is incredible, and I'm gonna say this, he might be a better manager than Sir Alex Ferguson. He might. Don't get me wrong, Fergie was probably the better manager, and what he did was phenomenal. But who's to say that Guardiola wouldn't be able to win 13 Premier Leagues if he stays long enough? I mean, he's already won 5. Sir Alex Ferguson lifted 2 Champions Leagues. All Guardiola needs to do now is just outwit Simone Inzaghi, and he'll have won 3, 2 of which were when he was directly pitted against Fergie in the finals. I just think if you're picking one manager in Premier League history for a one-off season, then it's either Pep, Jose, or Sir Alex. But to use his own logic against it, Sir Alex Ferguson always said that he prefers Cristiano Ronaldo as a player because he did it in other countries, and that Lionel Messi was just a Barcelona player. Well, could Fergie have won the treble with Barcelona? Could he have walked into the new camp and got Messi to score nearly 100 goals a year? I know, it's weird. Trying to imagine Sir Alex Ferguson speaking Spanish? I'd be like trying to imagine a polar bear trying to sing. I just think that what Pep Guardiola has done with Manchester City, it almost defies belief. Anyway, that's the video. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? Are Man City as good as I think? Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to give a like, share, and subscribe. And as always, I'll talk to you in a while.